Hallo zukünftige Deutsche und Deutscherinnen. Wie geht's heute? Ich spreche auf Englisch. Last lesson, we learnt a bit about how to talk about our family. So we learned what the family members were called, you know, der Vater, die Mutter, etc., etc. And this lesson, we're going to be doing a bit of work on that, a bit of revision because it is an important topic. And we're also going to learn how to give our opinion on our family. And the next lesson, we'll finish off this topic with how to talk about our friends. So without further ado, let's go. Zuerst einmal sollten wir das, was wir beim letzten Mal gemacht haben, aufarbeiten. So normally I would say doch zuerst eine kleine Zusammenfassung, etc. But this lesson, the recap is kind of part of the lesson. So this means first, it roughly means first, why don't we work on what we learned last time? So as you can see, we've got our usual Hans and Heidi having a conversation with each other, their favourite thing to do. And as usual, some of these things you can choose what to put in the gaps, but they have to be accurate German. And some of them you have to put a certain answer. So, but you should be able to figure out what those ones are using your knowledge of what we learned last lesson. And obviously, if you didn't watch last lesson, you should before you carry on. So I'll give you some time to pause the video and do that. Okay, so here is what you should/could have got. So Heidi, hallo Hans, wie geht's? Hans, hallo Heidi, mir geht's fantastisch. Heidi, hast du eine große Familie? Hans, nein, ich habe nur eine Mutter und einen Vater. Heidi, du hast Glück, ich habe eine Schwester, sie ist sehr nervig. Hans, oh, ich liebe meine Familie. So you don't know all of these words, but the things I asked you to fill in, you do know them. So ignore the bits you don't know and just think about the ones you do know. So for the first one, you had to put IE, like so. For the second one, you could have chosen how he was. He could have been fantastic. He could have been schlecht. Heidi obviously doesn't care. She just starts talking about his family. So he could have been fantastic, schlecht, furchtbar. It doesn't matter. And then Heidi, you had to say Familie. You could have said something else, but I was more looking for what we'd learned about last time, so you had to say Familie. And then Hans, nein, ich habe nur eine Mutter und einen Vater. You could have chosen anything, but you would have had to have got the gender right. So this is using something called the accusative case, which we don't need to learn about yet. But the gist is, if it's a woman, it's eine, and if it's a man, it's einen for the accusative. But we'll cover that in a future lesson anyway. So for now, just worry about the vocab Mutter and Vater, or whatever you put. And then for Heidi, you should probably have put something that you didn't put for Hans. So if you said that Hans had a sister and a father, or a sister and a mother, you should have given Heidi a mother that's annoying. It had to be feminine. But it doesn't really matter. I put Schwester, but it doesn't really matter. And then Hans says, oh, ich liebe meine Familie. If you remember, we did learn lieben when we did Wie findest du, I believe. Anyways, moving on. So once again, I've lost the verb endings. So this one, like we did last time, is haben, which is obviously to have. So I've done the infinitive for you, but you need to do the other ones. So the first person singular is I, second du, third he, she, it, we, you plural, they, and then the past tense. But you should know that by now if you've been following our previous lessons. So I'll give you some time to pause the video and do that task. Okay, so here they are. The first person singular I have is ich habe, ich habe. The second person singular, which is you have, du hast. The third person singular, which is he, she, it, has, is LZS hat. The first person plural, which is we have, is wir haben. The second person plural, which is you plural have, is ihr habt. Remember, we don't vary that in English, we just say you have. But in German, we do vary it, and in a few other languages, they vary it as well. The third person plural, which is they have, is sie haben, the same as wir. And then the past is ich habe gehabt. Obviously, logic dictates that you could go, because now we've learnt haben, you could go hat gehabt or hat gewollt, using any of the other words. That would just mean he has had or he has wanted. You know, it's important to piece together different bits of vocab because you can only be taught so much. You have to sort of piece it together yourself sometimes. So now a little game. So here are the rules of the game. I've written them in English so you can understand them, because you will need to understand the rules. A phrase will pop up on screen relating to the topic at hand, that being family and haben. You'll then have 5 seconds to state its meaning. So I will show it, and within the first 5 seconds of it being displayed on screen, you have to state what it means. Now, you could technically cheat on this. I've no way of knowing if you're going to cheat, but if you're really bothered about learning the language, then you won't cheat, obviously, because that's the wrong thing to do. Cheating gets nobody anywhere. So if you get all 5 of them correct, I want all 5 of them correct, they are really not that hard, then you may progress with the video. But if you get 4 or less, you must keep rewinding to get 4 marks. Don't get stressed. They are the easiest of the easy when it comes to the topic we've done. It's literally just a recap. Like it says there, this isn't supposed to be difficult, but it will drill the language into you nonetheless. Okay, so if you're ready, if you're not, pause the video, obviously, rewind the material, whatever. But if you're ready, los geht's. Let's go. So die Begriffe, the phrases. Okay, so if you have got that one, then let's move on. Okay, time's up. If you've got that, then let's move on. Okay, if you've got that, then let's move on. That one was an easy one because it went out slowly. So if you've got that, let's move on. I made that one go up a bit longer because it's longer, but time's up. So if you've got all of those, then let's go back and look at the answers. So the first one, ich habe, is pretty easy. You should know that by now. I have. Okay, so if you got that one, that counts as 1 point. The next one was ihr habt. You should have said you have. You could have just said you have, but you should have probably said you plural have, but you could have got it either way. And now we start looking at family members. So eine Mutter, a mother. Because it's ein rather than die, it's the indefinite article. So it's eine Mutter, a mother, not the mother. If you said the mother, you can have the point, but technically it's a mother. So if you've got all of those right so far, you have 3 points, just to clarify. Die Schwester means the sister. Yep, this is the definite article, so it's the sister, not a sister. But once again, I'm not going to be too fussy about that. It's more the vocab I care about. And finally, a bit of a hard one, just because it was longer and it wasn't one that I properly sort of told you about. Die unmittelbaren Familienmitglieder. A bit slower. I'll say it a bit slower. Die unmittelbaren Familienmitglieder. The immediate family members, that means. You could have said the immediate family or your household, anything that relates to, you know, the immediate family, and you could have got that one correct. So if you are happy that you got all of those right, like I say, please don't cheat, because cheating gets nobody anywhere. Then let's move on. Also, los geht's. Here we have a new question in German. Wie verstehst du dich mit da 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 da? So what that means is, how do you get along with da 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 da? And what it literally means is, how do you understand yourself with? So verstehen is understand. However, this is sich verstehen, which means get along. So sich verstehen mit is get along with. So wie verstehst du dich mit means how do you get along with. So here we have a group of vocab. You should already know them. We learnt them last time and we've been recapping them this lesson. So Mutter, mother, Tochter, daughter, Frau, wife, Cousine, female cousin, Oma, grandma, Tante, auntie, and or aunt, whatever you want to call it, and Schwester, sister. However, at the top we've got deine, spelled D-E-I-N-E-R, or D-E-I-N-E-R in English letters, in the English alphabet. And what this is saying is that when you have mit next to a noun, the way you write the article, in this case dein, differs. So when it's a woman or a girl, it's deiner with an R. There are some exceptions, but with everything that we've learnt so far, this applies. So think about it that way. If it's a girl or a woman, it's with an R on the end. So deine Mutter, deine Tochter, deine Frau, etc. However, if it's a man or a boy, it's deinem, D-E-I-N-E-M, deinem, D-E-I-N-E-M, like on the screen. And that's for men or boys. Vater, Sohn, Mann, Cousin, Opa, Uncle, Bruder, Freund der Familie, all things you should be familiar with. Father, son, husband, male cousin, grandfather or granddad. Uncle, brother, and family friend. A male family friend, that's presuming, because Hans is a man. And we used Hans as an example of Heidi's family friend. Anyways, so that's deinem for men and boys. And the same applies for baby, but not many people, some may, not many people though, would say, how do you get along with your baby? Because the answer is probably not very well yet, because it's still crying and it can't talk. Anyways, you could say deinem baby, because it's the same for neuter as it is for masculine. So ergänzt du die fehlenden Buchstaben. So what I'm asking you to do here is fill in the missing letters. So here you have a list of vocab. This is more a vocab test and what I've just taught you test, kind of combined together. So you can write this down, you can say it in your head, you can say it out or whatever. It doesn't matter. I don't care how you do it, as long as you do it. So the first one, for example, is blank Vater. So you have to decide what Vater means. Decide whether that's masculine, feminine, or neutral, though neutral and masculine are the same, and then fill in the right letter at the end of deine in order to make that grammatically correct. So if you thought the last letter was S, which obviously it isn't because that's not one of them, but I don't want to give anything away, then you would put deines Vater. Yeah, you just put an S in that gap. And it's the same for all of the other ones. Vater, Mutter, Schwester, Onkel, Opa, Cousine, Sohn. So I'll give you some time to pause the video and have a go at that task. Okay, here's what you should have got. The answers are in red. It's deinem Vater, because if you remember, Vater's a man, and for men and boys it's M. Deinem Vater. Deine Mutter, she was in the first group. Deine Mutter, deine Schwester, deinem Onkel, deinem Opa, both men, uncle, grandfather or granddad, deine Cousine, a female cousin, she was in the first group, deinem Sohn, Sohn is masculine because it's son, so that's deinem Sohn. Es ist einfach wie geht's. So if you remember, I think it was the very first or the second maybe lesson that we did, we learned how to say how we are, so wie geht's. So in the same way that you go, mir geht's fantastisch, or mir geht's schlecht, or mir geht's furchtbar, it's the same with sich verstehen. However, you would go, ich verstehe mich, then put in how it is. So I'll give you an example. Ich verstehe mich fantastisch mit meinem Vater. So we've learned deine in the question asking way, so deine and deinem. In order to say mine, it's obviously mein, so just meine spelt the same way but with an M instead of a D, and meinem spelt the same way but with an M instead of a D. So, ich verstehe mich fantastisch mit meinem Vater. Ich verstehe mich fantastisch mit meiner Schwester. Yeah? So have a go at saying some examples of people in your family, because it's the exact same as wie geht's, you know, the same adjectives, you know, fantastisch, sehr gut, gut, in Ordnung, schlecht, sehr schlecht, furchtbar. So Jasmine here, depicted on the right, obviously it's not Heidi, it's Jasmine. Don't worry, she won't become a regular. Jasmine is a very bizarrely dressed businesswoman, and she's hoping to move to Germany. She's starting a business where people pay her to talk about her family, help her out, and I don't mean tell her it's a bad idea, I mean help her out with the German, because she somehow thinks that German people are more attracted to the idea of learning about other people's families. So she's saying to you, how do I say? Number 1, I get along well with my mother. Number 2, I get along badly with my father. And number 3, I get along okay with my son. So this is all I, obviously, you know, logic dictates it's the exact same with he, she, it, you, they, etc. And we will conjugate the verb sich verstehen. But for now, help, what was she called again? Jasmine. Help Jasmine out with her sentences. So I'll give you some time to pause the video and have a go at that task. Okay, so here is what you should have got. The answers are rigid, you can only get one. Ich verstehe mich gut mit meiner Mutter. Number 2, ich verstehe mich schlecht mit meinem Vater. Number 3, ich verstehe mich in Ordnung. You could have gone so la la or okay. You could have just said okay. Mit meinem Sohn. So, first one, ich verstehe mich gut mit meiner Mutter. Second one, ich verstehe mich schlecht mit meinem Vater. And third one, ich verstehe mich in Ordnung mit meinem Sohn, or so la la, or okay. So here's the conjugation, like in every lesson. So the verb of the day is sich verstehen, to get along with. So the infinitive is sich verstehen, to get along with, obviously. Well, sich verstehen is just the to get along bit, but I put with because you always have mit. So the first person is ich verstehe. I believe it has auto-corrected it to verstehen, but it is ich verstehe mich, without the N. Forget about the N. The second person singular, which is you get along, is du verstehst dich. Yeah, du verstehst dich. So that's you get along. The third person singular, which is he, she, it, is sie oder es versteht sich. Sich. So mich, dich, sich. The first person plural, which is we, wir verstehen uns. Wir verstehen uns. So mich, dich, sich, uns. The second person plural is, which is you plural, is ihr versteht euch. Euch. So mich, dich, sich, uns, euch. The third person plural, which is they, is sie verstehen sich. It's sich again, so mich, dich, sich, uns, euch, sich. And finally, the past is ich habe mich verstanden. This one, you know, normally they have a GE at the start. This one isn't. It's just verstanden. So a little extra task for you is, how would you say my father gets along well with my mother? So would your father be I? No. Would he be you? Maybe. Would he be third person singular he, she, it? Maybe. Would it be we? Probably not. Er, sie. Which one would it be? And then try and say, you just have to go, mein Vater, and then verstehe, and then the ending, mit meiner Mutter. So have a go at that. See if you can think which one it would be. Vielen Dank fürs Zuschauen. Ich hoffe, dass du heute etwas gelernt hast. Have a good day. Auf Wiedersehen.